Alright, hey everybody, it's the Tech Marine again with another video. Today it's going to be another kind of how-to video and another kind of product review. So let's dive into it here. So basically what I'm going to go over today, I've gotten a lot of comments and questions about this particular model I did. Still got a few finishing touches on it yet, but the biggest question is this scale pattern, this stencil type of work that I did. Kind of basically where and how do you do that? It's actually quite simple, really. Like I said before, a stencil, not one I made. I definitely purchased these. I'll show you here. They come like this. This just kind of shows you the pattern, and then the actual stencil itself comes on this other sheet here that you can pull off and cut the size and kind of do. Yeah, there we go. It's kind of hard to see. You can't really see them once you pull them off. Then you'll see the actual pattern. They are a little bit of a pain to get off because each like scale section here, you have to actually punch out each individual one. But I mean, once you get it done, it definitely helps a lot, and it's a great asset to have. So these stencils, this is a large one, a large scale pattern. Then I also got a medium one. I think they have another smaller one. My idea though, for my Salamander Army, I'm just planning on using the large one for vehicles, and then I'll probably use this one on maybe like some somewhat larger units. I mean, the only one I can really think of right now is probably on my Centurions. I'll probably use it on some of their armor. They do make another one that's a bit smaller, and then it just kind of gets really kind of blotched. Looking to me, the smaller you get than that. But the company that makes this is Anarchy Models. It's a company out of the UK. Their website's anarchymodels.co.uk. And I'll have a link to that down in the description. And price point, I can't remember the exact price. It was in, I think it was in Euro. But it wasn't too bad for what you get. Like I said, I actually got two of the large stencils and then one of the small. But for today's project, I was able to pick up a couple of drop pods so I can add them to my Salamander Army. Somebody was trying to get rid of them for cheap. I guess they had them for a Raven Guard and they didn't want them anymore. And you can kind of tell like they didn't really put together too well, because if you're familiar with the drop pod, and if not, you are, here's a little tip. As you see, the doors don't close all the way, and that's usually because you have to kind of shave a little bit off on the door here. I'm trying to get in here and show you. It doesn't quite seat right here. It's got too much touching in there. So you kind of gotta take like an X-Acto knife and you just kind of gotta get in here and shave a bit off. Of course, this is a lot easier to do before you put the model together, but it's not impossible to do once it is. So just a quick little shave on that side. Let me try this other side. Alright. Yeah. Needs a little bit more shaving, but I mean, you can already tell it's doing a lot better. So, but yeah, so the plan is I'm going to repaint these. I'm going to try to magnetize the doors and get them to sit more flush, and then paint it, and maybe I'm going to do a little bit of a scale pattern on the doors and show you how I use the stencils. So let me finish this up real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I've kind of cleaned up the drop pod quite a bit. As you can see, the door is now all fully closed, and I've already went ahead and primed it. For my salamanders, especially with the scale pattern, what I like to do is I'll prime it in the black, but then I'll go over it with the Dark Angels green, or I think it's Caliban green now. And that's just when you do the scales, so there's a little bit of a contrast green color to it. There's a little bit darker in between the scales. I just think it looks better. But yeah, and I went ahead and magnetized the doors. I have like this little magnet in here, and I put the larger magnet here. I like the larger magnet as it just helps secure better than putting two small magnets, or two large magnets can often make it a bit harder to open. Normally when I do drop pods, I'll usually put the other magnet here like this. I've tried in the past trying to drill and put them like inside underneath this piece, and it's just never really worked out the greatest. It just weakens the magnet too much, having that much plastic in between here and having the other magnet inside the door here. I have an example of my Dark Angels drop pod that I've done, and it has the magnet inside of here, so you can't even tell it's there. Of course, you got this up here, it's kind of painted, so you can't really. I mean, you can tell, you can see it, but I don't think it really subtracts from the model at all. But as you can see, it just snaps closed, which is nice. It just something I like. To each his own. I like to be able to open and then have it close and secure. So, alright, so as far as this here, I've already cut off a bit of stencil, and I mean, it doesn't come like this. It's got some paint on it because I used it on a previous project. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to open the door here, and for this I've decided I'm just going to just paint this panel here on the door, and then I'm going to do some other things with the other parts of the fins and the door and such. So I'm just going to apply my stencil to the actual door. And these stencils are pretty great as far as multiple use. I've already used this one quite a few times. I used this same one on my Imperial Knight that I did, and I've used it on a few tanks and stuff already. And it's still got really good adhesion to the model, the glue or whatever it is. I'm not really sure what they use, but it does pretty well. So I applied it to the door, and then I closed the door and then have to push it down in there and get it in there. Now some people, I mean, they might say, oh, just tape it off, get an airbrush or some kind of brush of that kind, like a aerosol or something. They don't make this color green, and like at least GW doesn't make it in the spray can yet, but I think Army Painter might, and a few other companies. But anyway, I think for this type of work, it's just easier not to, because like I said, you'd be taping off a lot of stuff, and then if you get too much, blah blah. So anyway, so I'm gonna get out the Warpstone Glow, which used to be Snot Green, and I'm gonna go from there. So what I'm going to use is this dry brush. Has the really short brushes on it. I didn't really clean it too well since the last time I used it. Clean it again. There we go. And that's essentially what you're going to do. You're gonna pretty much dry brush it on a little bit. Maybe a little bit thicker. But essentially that's kind of the same idea. So you got each one of these, and I'm just gonna maybe dab a little bit off, and then just gonna go into each scale and just fill it in. And there's one, and just keep doing that and going over them again, getting the color a little bit darker, a little bit thicker. Keep going over. Now I wouldn't ever suggest painting like this with strokes or anything like that. Just go to each individual one and dab it in there. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Bob Ross and his Joy of Painting show. I always am reminded when I do these of the dabbing. But a happy little tree. Maybe there's a squirrel that lives here. Yeah. But anyway, yep, so just keep dabbing them in there and just work your way to each scale. and eventually you'll get all of them in there nice and evenly. I mean, you can kind of just blotch them. It gives it kind of a better, more natural kind of look if they're not all identical, and gives it some depth to them as well. Yeah, so the stencils on the Anarchy models, they have other products as well, but these are they call it the HD stencil system. So like, I'll have the link below. They have all different types of patterns. They have scales, different types of camouflage patterns you can use. They have like a hexagon type of camouflage pattern thing that you can do for if you want to do some kind of a futuristic thing. They have or camouflage. They have examples of various towel models with the hexagon camouflage on it. It looks pretty neat. Might try that maybe for my towel. But right now I thought I would get the scales because my main army has the salamanders, and I want to get them looking good. So I'm gonna finish up this, and I'll be back to show you the finished product. Okay, I'm back. Just finished up the last panel here, so I'm gonna just peel it off. I'm gonna show you how it looks. So it just peels right off, and there you have it. I think it turns out pretty well. So I've got the nice little scale pattern. Still got a bit more I'm going to do to the fins and everything else, but that's kind of just the basics of the stencil. Pretty simple. I think most people kind of know how to use a stencil. It seems common sense, but just give you an idea of how it works and how these scale sheets from Anarchy models work. They are pretty good, I think, and they make it a lot easier to get some pretty neat patterns. Alright, well, thanks for watching.